You might not expect this, but Trump has become the first, and so far the only, unofficial Nobel Peace Prize winner in human history. Emphasis on unofficial. This award was not granted by the Swedish Nobel Committee, but personally presented to Trump at the White House by Maria Corina Machado, a Venezuelan opposition figure, face-to-face. Sweden, of course, does not recognize it at all. But Trump himself? He was clearly pleased, and the conversation between them went very smoothly. However, what we are discussing today is not the prize itself, but rather one key question: what does Trump really want from Venezuela? Why did Machado give Trump this award? The intention is actually quite clear. She wants to leverage Trump to intervene in Venezuelan politics and even reshape the country's power structure. But the real question is, does this align with Trump's interests? The answer is not entirely. Even before Maduro was invited to visit the United States, we had already analyzed that Venezuela is not a simple case of support one side and overthrow the other. In a multi-party strategic game, whom would Trump ultimately choose? Our conclusion has always been clear. He is more likely to support a successor within the Maduro system itself, namely the current interim President Rodriguez and the political family behind him. Why? Because U.S. media had already revealed that Rodriguez's brother, formerly the fifth most powerful figure in Venezuela and now the fourth, had been secretly communicating with the United States as early as last year, discussing governance plans for a post-Maduro Venezuela. In other words, Washington has been laying the groundwork for quite some time. That is why Trump would never overturn his entire Venezuela strategy simply because of an unofficial Nobel Peace Prize. So what is his overall strategy? First, energy. Venezuela holds at least 17% of the world's proven oil reserves. If the U.S. can integrate Venezuelan production with its own shale oil output, together with Saudi Arabia as a traditional ally, what does that mean? It means the United States could once again dominate global energy pricing. Second, immigration. In just over a decade, more than 7 million Venezuelans have fled the country, with a large number entering the U.S. illegally. This has been one of the deeper reasons behind the long-term strain on America's fiscal and welfare systems. One of Trump's core political assets, what helped to become the 47th president, was his hardline stance against illegal immigration. Third, drugs. What is the official justification for going after Maduro? Drugs. Whether this reason is a pretext or not, it is entirely defensible within U.S. domestic politics. That said, Trump has not had a smooth ride in Venezuela. He once promised that the U.S. would invest $100 billion to upgrade Venezuela's oil infrastructure. Reality, however, quickly poured cold water on that idea. ExxonMobil and ConocoPhillips showed little enthusiasm, while Chevron offered only symbolic cooperation. The message was clear: capital was not convinced. This setback actually helped Trump realize one thing: he needs more leverage from the political structure itself. That leads to a crucial detail. On the very day Trump received the Nobel Peace Prize, he had a long phone call with Rodriguez, which he later described as very easy to communicate with. If you follow U.S. media, you'll know this communication started as early as last year. Trump does not have much time. He cannot run again, and his real operational window is only about 3 years. He cannot rebuild a country the way the U.S. rebuilt Japan after World War II. Venezuela is not Japan. So no matter what prize Machado offers or what justification she presents, Trump will not choose to dismantle the entire political structure. What will he do instead? Use the existing structure to force a policy shift. And this involves more than just the United States. The EU and China are deeply involved as well. The Venezuelan president, recognized by the EU, is still hiding in Europe, while Venezuela owes China a massive amount of debt. If the Maduro system were completely dismantled and a new political structure rebuilt, both the EU and China would be heavily affected. For Trump, that cost is simply too high. So what is the optimal solution? Rodriguez remains in power, the structure stays intact, but policies open up. New elections are held, giving Machado a chance. In this scenario, the U.S. secures its interests, the EU is constrained, China continues collecting debt, and the overall situation remains manageable. Even more important is Cuba. Once Venezuela cuts off financial and energy support to Cuba, Havana will face another serious crisis. Don't forget, Marco Rubio is Cuban-American and extremely sensitive to this issue. Through Venezuela, Trump can counterbalance Cuba and potentially deal with one of America's most difficult neighbors. In the end, everything still comes back to how the oil is divided. This is where history matters. From a century-long perspective, U.S. Venezuela relations have not been bad. As early as the 1910s, American and European companies were already extracting oil in Venezuela. How favorable were the terms? For every $10 worth of oil sold, Venezuela only received about 80 cents. It was an era when oil literally flowed out of the ground. Venezuela once became so wealthy that its per capita GDP ranked 4th in the world. During World War II, global dependence on Venezuelan oil surged. Venezuela broke its original agreements, doubled revenue sharing, and demanded 50% of profits. U.S. companies tolerated it because production skyrocketed and profits increased. In the 1970s, Venezuela changed the rules again. Full nationalization, paying only technical service fees. Companies tolerated that too, due to the global oil crisis and the restructuring of the dollar system. But by the 1990s, deep well extraction costs rose and service fees no longer made sense. U.S. companies began pulling back. Then Chavez came to power and forcibly reclaimed equity stakes, selling U.S. assets at fire sale prices. That was when American capital truly got hurt. Trump understands this history very well. So what he wants now is not a regime change, but one simple guarantee: no more rule changes. As long as policies are stable, profits are predictable, and U.S. military deterrence is in place, American capital will return. And opposition figures like Machado can serve as balancing tools to pressure the current government. For Trump, this means minimum cost, maximum return. As for China, the relationship is fundamentally a debt relationship. Venezuela owes money, China wants repayment. After the 2017 default, China stopped new investments and shifted to discounted oil repayments. Trump is actually willing to maintain this arrangement because it helps the U.S. create a contrast advantage in South America. The real battlefield is not Venezuela, but the entire South American mineral base: copper, silver, lithium. That is where Trump's next strategic focus lies. So who's next? Greenland? Cuba? Iran? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Our channel is to focus on important financial events in the world, get high investment returns, and release 2 to 3 videos every week. See you in the next issue.